welcome and host of Democracy Now! Watch Occupy Your Voice with Mel Vouzan.
Hello and welcome to Occupy Your Voice.
Ways to die. Choose one.
You may be shocked to discover that at least one man whose accomplishments touch each of our lives on a daily basis has been virtually forgotten.
He is one of the greatest geniuses of the 19th century.
Edison was one level of science, but Tesla was many levels higher.
He was a lonely character, researching independently, outside mainstream science. He must have appeared to the so-called normal world like a complete eccentric.
He gave our country a tremendous package of technology, applications, and wonders, and our lives, all our lives, are collectively much better because of his work.
It's offered to anyone who can harness and transmit energy from Niagara Falls to Buffalo, New York. Edison does everything in his power to discredit alternating current and Tesla.
Alternating current is a danger to human life.
Start the generator.
You have just seen alternating current in action.
And was the first person to really show how to transmit wireless energy through the air to ignite electrical bulbs or electrical tubes. They were fluorescent tubes, which he had in the room. These tubes would respond to different frequencies. So if he produced one frequency, one group of bulbs would light, and if he produced another frequency, another group of bulbs would light.
In 1898, while perfecting his patents for the invention of wireless radio transmission, Tesla's laboratory mysteriously burns to the ground. This fire destroys thousands of hours of work, setting the inventor back years and costing him personally over $1 million. Tesla is horrified by the extent of the damage, but his is a resilient spirit. In 1899, Tesla moves to Colorado Springs to experiment with terrestrial and atmospheric waves. Out on the prairie, he pursues his passion for discovering sources of free energy, both above and below the surface of the Earth. While investigating a phenomenon known as the Schumann cavity, he develops his theories for tapping limitless sources of power that all people of the world may share.
Surrounding the Earth, there's a cavity that resonates at about 8 cycles per second. And this cavity exists between the Earth we're standing on now and the bottom of the ionosphere, about a 60-kilometer gap. in this three-dimensional resonant cavity. In that cavity, you can transmit power, electromagnetic energy, at 8 hertz with almost no attenuation. The Schumann cavity is pumped or fueled at this time with megawatts of power from the lightning strokes that are occurring many times a second on a worldwide basis.
It's rather like a child who's playing with a tetherball. Tesla was so creative, he envisioned using his power transmitter to spank the ball, put a great big ball of electricity, if, by analogy, a pulse of electricity, in the ionosphere, and it would very weakly distribute itself all the way around the world. And when it came around the other side, just at the right moment, he would spank it again with another pulse of electricity, and he'd keep doing this until the accumulated energy was so great that it would be a resource to be pulled back out of the sky by a proper antenna.
Tesla's idea was to be able to provide power equally to all people on Earth. At this time, there are 2 to 3 billion people on this planet that can't go home at night and turn on the lights. We can. The people that can are living in poverty. Tesla saw that there was a division between the have and the have-nots, and he was determined to make electrical power equally available to all people on this planet as a gift.
Tesla develops the technology at Colorado Springs to produce astonishingly high voltages and currents. When the switch is thrown, ghostly sparks dance inside the lab, while on the copper ball atop the antenna, thick blue lightning crackles upward over 100 feet into the sky. Thunderclaps are heard over 15 miles away. It is one of the great inventor's crowning achievements, man-made lightning.
At Colorado Springs, he had a 56 kilovolt ampere Westinghouse transformer that George Westinghouse gave to him, and it had various taps on it up to 55,000 volts. And through the amplification of this transformer into his magnifying transmitter, he's able to actually blowing up the Colorado Springs, some of the generators in the power at Colorado Springs plant at a distance of about 25 miles away.
Originally, it was thought that he generated or used so much power from the utility company that burned out a couple of their generators. Since then, there's been some conjecture that actually he was picking up more energy from the surrounding air at that high altitude, and it was feeding back into the generator, and you cannot feed electrical energy back into a generator, and that's what blew him out. And they wouldn't sell him any more power until he and his assistant went down and repaired the generators.
With the success of the Colorado experiments, Tesla moves back to New York City. After courting several financial backers, he is introduced to J.P. Morgan, the infamous banker and international financier. Morgan is convinced by Tesla's promise that he can, quote, build a world broadcasting system that will earn millions. Inspired by the earlier works of genius attributed to Tesla, the business-savvy Morgan invests $150,000. Though he must concede 51% ownership in his radio patents to the fabulously wealthy industrialist, Tesla nevertheless proceeds with his construction of the legendary Wardenclyffe Tower in 1900.
Wardenclyffe Laboratories were built by Tesla to try to prove his dream, his radio transmission of power. First it started off, he told his backers it would be just voice communication, but his real dream was power.
Soon thereafter, with Wardenclyffe in the midst of construction, Tesla receives a report that Guglielmo Marconi has successfully completed a trans-ocean radio transmission. Morgan threatens to pull out. Rather than admit defeat, Tesla expands on his original idea for Wardenclyffe, transforming it into the pilot project for his long-envisioned global power and communications system. Tesla promises Morgan that he can erect a system of towers that will pull down energy from the ionosphere, making it possible to transmit electricity throughout the world without wires. In short, free energy for everyone.
Tesla was called a nut because Tesla also said that he could generate without any fuel, without any solar energy, without any wind power, he could generate electrical power, and he did do that. And that was something that the fuel companies didn't want to have happen. He was also able to broadcast electrical power through the air without any wires. And that project was stopped by J.P. Morgan when the commercial consequences became obvious.
Seeing no way to make a profit from Tesla's free energy device and convinced Marconi would monopolize radio, Morgan backs off. Ironically, over 40 years later, the Supreme Court of the United States determines that Marconi copied his radio technology from patents already held by Tesla, and that it was Tesla who actually discovered wireless transmission.
We jumped you down.
My name is Tony Vaccaro, and I own Brooklyn Pizza Company, Sky Bar, and 4th Avenue Yoga. Brooklyn Pizza I opened in 1996. I think that's about 16 years ago. And Sky Bar I opened 4 years ago, and 4th Avenue Yoga roughly 2 years ago. I opened Brooklyn Pizza Company because I love Tucson, I love the Southwest. I came here for graduate school but didn't like graduate school, but I wanted to stay. So I had to figure out a way to make a living here in Tucson, and I thought the pizza was not very good at the time. And I've got a bit of a family history of pizza making. My grandfather had a pizza place in Brooklyn when I was a little kid, so I figured I'd give that a stab. Sky Bar I opened 4 years ago. And I own this space, and I needed a tenant, and I figured I'd be a pretty good tenant. So, and this place lends itself to being a good bar space, and Tucson's an astronomy town, and skies are clear almost every night. And we have the solar panels already, so I figured we'll call it Sky Bar, solar powered by day, solar powered cafe by day, astronomy bar by night. We've got 3 telescopes, 1 on the roof that has a camera and 2 on the patio, so people can come look through the telescopes every night. And then I opened 4th Avenue Yoga because I know yoga is really good for people, and there's no yoga in this immediate area. And that's why I opened that. How does the solar system work? So we're Brooklyn Pizza Company and Sky Bar are 100% solar powered. We've got over 380 solar panels. I'm not sure the exact amount. We installed it in 3 different waves over 3 different years, and it's a grid tie system. So during the day we overproduce, and all that energy gets pumped back into the grid, and our neighbors get to use it. And then at night, when the sun sets, we need to draw from the grid. So the net effect after a month is that we don't use more than we need. We produce as much as we need, essentially. So we did it in 3 waves, and we had some financing available. But the whole system cost approximately $600,000, but our out-of-pocket cost for that only ended up being practically a little over $200,000. So we got $600,000 worth of equipment for approximately $200,000, and that's thanks to the federal government gave us a tax credit and a rebate, and TEP actually paid for a good portion of the system. So I'm really thankful for TEP. Now, of course, we'd all like TEP to do even more, but this is a step in the right direction for sure. We can't really talk about fossil fuels and locally in the same sentence, really. That's like a global issue. But I think when people see that a business of this size, or two businesses of this size, can be 100% solar powered, it's got to make people feel good. It's got to make people believe that they also can do it. And when I say people, I mean businesses and residences. So it's not something that's going to happen in the future. It can happen right now. It needs to happen right now. And I believe that this entire country could be running on solar and wind in, I think we could do it in 10 years. If we spend as much money as we spend on war, if we spent it on alternative energy, in 10 years we can get this all wrapped up.
This is a little homemade vertical wind turbine that I built. It's driving a fixed magnet alternator. As you can see, I have it mounted behind my wall here. Like many of you, I live in an HOA, but out here in the deserts of the Southwest, we get these wind gusts that just come in all the time, and so it's a pretty normal thing. And believe it or not, you even mounted down low like this, you can harness this wind even behind the wall. Which is actually really amazing. If this thing was up on the roof or up on a mast, it would just be churning out electricity like crazy. And so I'm using this as my prototype to get some numbers off of and come up with an improved design. But this one, it worked. Actually exceeded my expectations. It gets going in about a 7 or 8 mile an hour breeze. But realistically, you need that 20, 30 mile an hour, wind moving across it to get it going in a real good way. Although these fixed magnet alternators, this particular one is a low wind alternator, so even when it's just barely turning, it's generating electricity.
Come on, Space Boy, let's go.
Unlike other power plants that rely on coal or other fossil fuels to create electricity for homes and businesses, geothermal power plants use superheated fluids from the Earth's geothermal resources to generate electricity. The natural heat of the Earth creates geothermal resources. This heat comes from molten rock called magma, located at the Earth's core, deep below the geothermal resource. Over thousands of years, rainwater seeps through cracks in the Earth's surface and collects in underground reservoirs. The magma heats the water until it becomes a superheated fluid. To reach the superheated fluid, wells are drilled 5,000 to 10,000 feet below the surface of the Earth. These wells, called production wells, bring the superheated fluid to the Earth's surface, where it can be used to generate electricity for homes and businesses. This geothermal power plant uses crystallizer reactor clarifier technology, a process that turns the geothermal superheated fluid into steam while removing solids from it. The steam is used to drive a turbine and generate electricity. All remaining geothermal fluids are injected back into the reservoir for reuse. Under its own pressure, superheated fluid from the geothermal resource flows naturally to the surface through production wells. As the liquid flows toward the surface, the pressure decreases, causing a small portion of the fluid still within the well to separate or flash into steam. At the surface, the superheated fluid and steam mixture flows through surface pipelines and into a wellhead separator. Inside the separator, the pressure of the superheated fluid is reduced. This causes a large amount of the superheated fluid to rapidly vaporize and flash into high-pressure steam. The geothermal fluid that is not flashed into steam in the wellhead separator flows to a second vessel called a standard pressure crystallizer, where an additional amount of standard pressure steam is produced. The flash process continues in the low-pressure crystallizer. The remaining fluid is again flashed, this time at a lower pressure to produce low-pressure steam. All of the low-pressure, standard pressure, and high-pressure steam is delivered to a turbine. The fluid that is not flashed into steam flows into the reactor clarifier system and is then returned to the geothermal reservoir through injection wells. Turbines are the primary piece of equipment used to transform geothermal energy into mechanical energy. Pressurized steam created from the geothermal superheated fluid flows through pipelines to large steam turbines. The force and energy in the steam is used to spin the turbine blades. The turbines turn a shaft directly connected to an electrical generator. An electrical charge is created when magnets rotate within the generator. Large copper bars carry the electrical charge to a step-up transformer outside the plant. Within the transformer, the voltage is increased before the power is sent to the power lines that carry it to homes and businesses. Geothermal energy is a sustainable resource because with proper management, a geothermal resource can remain a renewable source of energy. Water trapped deep within the earth will naturally replace the superheated fluid that is drawn from the geothermal resource through surface wells. However, it is possible to deplete the geothermal resource by removing fluid faster than it can be naturally replaced. To help prevent this, the steam used in the geothermal power plant passes through a condenser that turns it back into fluid. At this stage, it's possible to recover minerals from the geothermal fluid before it's injected back into the earth. This condensed fluid, along with the fluid that did not flash to steam, is injected back into the underground reservoir. Magma naturally reheats the fluid so it can be used again.